Hello and welcome back to the Cinema Wave podcast. It is I, your host today, Vinny Albano. I am joined with Liz Seiko and Zach Miller.
How's it going? How you doing?
What's going on?
It's going good. It's going good. We're talking about The Monkey today. Osgood Perkins' next film in his filmography. We're not too far from the release of Longlegs, which was probably only a year ago from now.
I think maybe less.
I know we did the review, Liz and I, and we really enjoyed that. I'm very curious to hear your guys' overall thoughts on The Monkey, because I thought it was hilarious. I don't think it's the perfect film, but I think within the B-movie schlock, we need more of this, in my opinion. I always have a very soft spot for these over-the-top, goofy horror films. But yeah, I want to hear your guys' broad thoughts. Liz, if you want to start.
Yes, I will dive in. So I had pretty high expectations just because I was coming off of Longlegs. And I have seen some of Oz's other films, which I really enjoyed. And he just has kind of a vision with that horror genre. So I went in just a little bit high. Plus, they didn't do a ton of press for this film, but some of the press that they were doing on like Instagram, they were just making it seem like it was like the next Stephen King's horror fantastical film that people were going to be walking out because it was so gory, which I do agree. It's definitely like a lot of kills going on in this film. I think I just was disappointed walking out because I didn't expect it to be so cheesy in a way. And for me, it didn't really necessarily wrap up the story. Like, personally, for me, the horror films that I like, I kind of want them explained a little bit more. I appreciate, like, the B movies that they don't go into the detail. But my personal preference is if you're going to give us a, like, sadistic, possessed monkey, I want to know why and like where it came from and like what's the actual reasoning that this monkey has just latched itself onto this family essentially. So that's just why for me personally, it didn't hit home, but I could see why other people who don't necessarily need everything explained would totally love this. So those are my first thoughts.
What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I liked the movie for like most of it. I think that for me the struggles for it were where it dives into like really dark tones with the brother relationship, and then it flips to the comedic stuff like pretty easily. So sometimes I felt like the tone of the approach with the hilarity of the deaths mixed with the dark messages behind them was like getting like jumbled a little bit, and I didn't really know what to take away from it by the end. And I also feel like the ending was a little rushed and everything just kind of explodes and the dust is settling how it settles. And yeah, I don't know. It was okay. A lot of the dialogue was a little cheesy, and I couldn't tell if that was intentionally because of how ridiculous the situation was that a monkey is doing this, or if they were just not aware that they were creating cheesy dialogue. Some of it I thought was funny because I could tell it was intentional. And then other points I'm like, okay, bro, like the joke was conveyed like 3 scenes ago. Like the whole like dumb shit line with the brothers, like I thought that was just overused a little bit too much. And just some of the brother relationship and the kids in the beginning was odd to me. But yeah, I feel like in general it was entertaining. It just wasn't my favorite of his movies so far. But
yeah, I will say I enjoyed Longlegs as much as it's such a different horror film.
Yeah,
Longlegs is almost like a noir within the horror genre, and I enjoyed Longlegs more. However, for what this is, I personally, it seems like I enjoyed it more than both of you guys. So I was just laughing the entire time, and I went into it knowing it was comedy. So I don't know if it was maybe that, or like I said, that soft spot I have for B movies. But there's like so many creative kills and so much just like stupid shit that I just find so funny. So funny.
Well, it's really like,
Hmm.
you probably love the Final Destination films?
Yeah, I was gonna
I've
say
actually
that, too.
never seen them.
What?
Yeah.
Vinny.
I've never seen them.
I'm shocked.
Those
right
are like
now.
B movies that turned into a franchise and then
Hmm.
they did successful, but they like actually try at their kills and stuff and it ends
Hmm.
up being campy. But this one is like campy, like intentionally campy, and then they use that to their advantage. But yeah, those it's I was gonna say the same thing, like Final Destination type kills that are happening in this.
Very
But-
much, because it's like, oh, this bowling ball has to fall here in order for this to happen, so that this person trips to then fall into this person to then kill that person.
Right.
Which that's kind of what the kills were like in this film. So if you liked this, you
Yeah.
need to go home and like watch the
Okay.
Final Destination films, because so the reason I like the Final Destination films more than this one is because they actually kind of, although they never find out the answer of why it's happening, they try to like work toward it and start to try to figure out exactly what the reasoning is that something's following all of them. Well, I don't know. I just feel like at a certain point, the story got away from trying to figure out why this is happening. And it was just that they accepted it. And now they're like, okay, we carry this monkey with us wherever we go. And we just never turn the key. And we don't ask why. And we don't figure out why.
Yeah.
The what if we're getting philosophical here?
Okay.
What if the monkey symbolizes trauma, and and you know, you carry that with you? It's like how the brother. I guess we're going to spoilers.
Yeah,
Warning.
sorry, everybody.
But I don't. What if?
Okay,
if?
so you think that it stands for trauma? I could see that like you have to just accept it at a certain point. I wish that if that was the route that they were going, they maybe had just like sprinkled it in a little bit more. Or like one of my favorite moments of this film, actually, I know, Zach, you said that you didn't really love the younger boys.
It was more sorry, I didn't specify, but I didn't love this sequence in the beginning with all the high school kids and like how they were bullying our main character. I thought that was so unrealistic that nothing would happen. Like he comes home, says nothing to his mom. He's covered in like banana peels, loses his short. I'm like, what is happening? And there's just a random group of girls in the bathroom. It's like, I'm gonna take your shorts. I'm like, this is just a terrible like interpretation of bullying. It was so weird. And then because they put so much leverage on how the mom is involved in his life, like why would she not intervene in that moment, I guess? And then I get there's the whole like brother thing that's bullying him, but that was just a silly like sidebar. Yeah.
See, I actually, if I had to pick, I liked when they were younger more. And I think it's because I just really like Tatiana for me in this was one of my favorite roles. It also gave me vibes. One of my favorite like suspense horror films is It Follows, and it's because of the absence of like parents and how kids can kind of just get into like the craziness. So I liked that she was a little bit absent while trying to be present in their lives. But bringing it full circle to like wanting them to put it more on the nose about trauma, her scene of them sitting by the tree and them like eating the ice cream and her just being like, everybody dies, you're gonna die, you're both gonna die, I'm gonna die. I loved that moment, and it just made the whole film feel a little bit more grounded and real. Even though they are having these very like campy, over the top, like banana all over him, it really made them feel like they were trying to figure out their lives a little bit. And I wish that then the ending had just tapped more into that feeling that her performance was giving.
I actually agree with you. That's one of my biggest cons with the film is that the first act is very relationship orientated, and by the end of it, we are hoping to kind of see a parallel between the mother and now with Theo James's his character and his son. But I don't get that in the end. I will say I did like the film less and less as it went on, but as a whole, I did enjoy it. So I do agree with you on that. Yeah,
I think that the first part was like pretty strong, actually. And then for me, it was the time change, which I do want to know your opinions. What are your thoughts on Theo James playing the two different twins? Did you guys enjoy him being like this monkey worshiper, warehouse living guy, or like what were your thoughts on his casting?
Zach,
I thought that was like that seemed to me to be the most far-fetched of what was happening, even though there's a monkey killing people. I think that like him going into isolation, like I get people deal with their trauma in different circumstances, but in this movie they obviously wanted to be like, let's give him an extreme sample. But for him to go into isolation and become the monkey, like he's just searching for it, and he lost it at one point, and he has like all these computers and booby traps set up. I was just like, the time jump was very significant, where I didn't understand why you needed to do all that. Like he could have just been like disheveled or something. Like it just seems so far out there, but I guess that plays to the extreme nature of the film, which is fine. I just thought that they kind of doubled down on the jokes a little too much, and I was like, yeah, I get it. Like he's this obsessive, crazy guy now. Like it's all good, but I thought he played twins like okay, but kind of what you're saying. I liked the dichotomy between the brothers in the beginning, and I liked how they were just looking different in appearance and acting different in behavior. It wasn't extreme versus extreme, so that felt stronger to me, versus something that is so extraterrestrial in this monkey. But
I really like it because, and I know you mentioned the bullies from before, and you weren't a fan of those, but for me, like, especially within the genre, and if you're going to establish from the beginning, which it does with the scene with Adam Scott, that this is going to be weird and over the top.
Yeah.
Weirder the better, in my opinion. Like, it gets so, like, ridiculous at points, but it's just fun. Like, I could just, like, you know, I had class earlier, and I was like, I was on a cup of coffee, which I don't drink a lot of coffee, so I'm, like, tweaking. And, and I got to sit down, I got to relax, I got to be like, wow, this is just funny, and this is just like so weird. I'm also a Chainsaw Man fan, so Chainsaw Man is like, if it's the most bizarre, just crazy weird shit after weird shit, and I love it. So then again, I might be coming from a different perspective here, or a biased perspective, but I enjoyed that. The thing that I didn't enjoy, which you did mention, Zach, is the brother that Theo James plays. There's so much. You said the word grounded, right? At the beginning, he feels grounded. There feels like there's an impact to his character, and by the end, when they keep doubling down on the jokes, it's kind of like, you know, and that goes to my previous point of, I did enjoy the film, but as it went on, it started to get a little bit more staler, because there could have been so many opportunities in that third act for different jokes. For you could get zanier, or you could get just
more surprising,
different characters, like anything.
Anything. Just in general, it's so zany, weirdy, unpredictable, and by the end, it just kind of loses its momentum. It feels like it's running, and then it's starting to get exhausted towards the end. So,
to me, the entire third act feels like shock value. It's like you're just killing off people in mass groups, or the guy, even earlier, there's the guy getting killed in the sleeping bag, and like the most like worst like death I've seen in a long time. It was crazy. And you know, like they're showing all these gory elements, people dying, like that. It was used in a way and a vessel for like the funny, like the one woman that goes through the realtor sign and she's on fire and her like foot is in a garbage can. Like that was a funny placement. But then other stuff by the end, even the very end, there's like all the kids that die in the school bus. I'm like, yeah, like, okay, that was funny, but like, do we really need to do that? That kind of thing.
Also, wait, isn't there like a continuity error? Because like, why is the monkey killing them if nobody turns the key?
I think it just like ended the world.
Or he just kills whenever he wants, essentially.
When the brother, it went like crazy, and it
so
did
it just
like
started killing so many people.
Yeah.
It just
Okay.
like broke its own rules.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
And just started doing whatever it wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which also like you kind of lose me there because there are no more rules in that kind of sense. And kind of what you were saying too. I wish that those rules were explained a little bit because they're trying to figure out, oh, is the person that turns it like safe, like that kind of thing. I thought that was interesting. Or the origin of the monkey. Like they don't have to open some old textbook and like, oh, the monkey is from the Amazon rainforest. But like they don't have to do that. But they could at least go back to like who had the monkey before,
who made it?
You know,
Who
like
made
that
this
kind of thing.
Like look at the box that it came in.
Yeah.
Like, what made it be, and where did their father get this thing from?
Right.
There could have been a little bit more backstory for me. Which again, I just like that in horror films. I know some people don't care. Some people just want to see the shock and like see how creative the kills can get.
Yeah, I will say, and this is not particularly, I don't think I think I probably would have enjoyed backstory as well. However, and I don't know if you would call this a defense, but I'll just say my point is that it's written by Stephen King, or it's based off a short story by Stephen King. And that's a very Stephen King thing to do, right? It's just like, what if a dog was scary? What if a hat came alive and started eating your scalp? Like, you know what I mean? And there's really, and there's also that whole idea of horror kind of piggybacking off of that thought, where the mystery is in the horror is in the mystery. You know, I know the Terrifier series, that's a recent one that's popping off, and Art the Clown. So much why people love him is because he symbolizes another horror monster icon who's just a complete anomaly within the world, you know? Like Michael Myers. Like, we know Michael Myers was a boy who murdered his family, but we never know why. We never know why he's like that. He's such an anomaly and mystery. Same with even, I mean, Freddy's kind of outlier in that, but Jason and so on and so on. And I'm not really defending the film in that category, but
defend it.
Hey, all right, you know what? I'm defending the film now. It's I stand on my point that like
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think if they got creative with it, it would have been cool.
Like they could have just done something where like they're looking for the guy and it just ends up being like this guy named Bob in a shop and he just like got this like voodoo like spell on, or like something. It could have been so like simple or playing into the funniness of it where it's it was just a simple accident that happened and like now or like my grandpa's in there or something. Like could have been some shit like that. So it could have and then they would have been like, oh, that's even worse. Like I thought it was gonna be something way worse.
And Bob is played by Stephen King.
Or Christopher Walken.
Oh, that would be
wow.
Let's make the monkey too now. I think we should start writing the monkey too.
Honestly, the whole time that I was sitting there when Adam Scott was like, it was like the prequel of like, okay, this is where it came from. The whole sequence, I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to make a Monkey 2. They're going to be like, Adam Scott got it from this guy. If this is a commercial hit, this is like, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, where did you get the monkey from? Where did you get it? Like, it's going to, now we're in the age of like universes and stuff. So the film kind of going back to what we were talking about, I feel like it needed to center on its tone a little bit like better or a little bit more succinct, because I like the comedy, like dark comedy elements, but I also think that it kind of struggled to get there at points, and then the jokes got stale, and when the jokes got stale you lose comedy for people. So it's kind of like, what did I get from this, you know, that kind of thing.
I get that. Do you have
I have something about Theo James. I really like him as an actor. I don't think they should have had him as a twin. I think it should have just been brothers and not necessarily twins, because I really did not buy him as a like mullet wearing monkey worshiper, to be honest. Like he just does not give me that vibe. And I think it would have just enhanced it more if they had gotten somebody and just made it as brothers, and they got somebody who can be a twisted, kind of creepy, like loner a bit. Like Theo James, nothing about him, his persona reads that to me. And I know that like he should because he's acting, but then I don't know. I just didn't really buy him that way. And I think for me, that is when it started dipping, where I was like, I just don't buy that he's kind of like this sociopath that now wants to kill his brother.
Yeah.
I totally get that. He's too handsome.
He's too much of a pretty boy in order to be, and give him a mullet, but like, that's it. That's literally all they did.
Yeah.
So I would have made it just brothers, and then they should cast somebody that's kind of like an unknown actor that just gives weird vibes.
Yeah. It could have also given off like a better buddy comedy angle of like, oh no, they both hate each other, but like they have to come together and find something, because they could have played to another actor's strengths. Then like, I get he was different in an extreme way than his brother, but yeah, I didn't buy him as like the nerd or you know, like the gentle persona. Like to me, he just looks like an action star, or like, you know, in White Lotus he's like a seducer and like a womanizer. So I was like, okay, like he is a nerd, but like it's 20 years on now, like why is he the same as a kid? And you know, the other bully kid is kind of growing up into the extreme example. So yeah, it kind of just didn't fit a little bit. I agree. I feel like two different actors
could
as
just
the
done
brothers. Yeah,
just done brothers. It would have been the same emotional impact of like there's the same mother dying.
Right.
But let me ask you, I want to bring up, which is my biggest flaw, and I mentioned it before, but the son, I feel like they tried really hard for the son to feel impactful, to feel like there's emotion behind this story and characters. And at times I wanted to buy it, but I don't think I bought it. And by the end, it just doesn't feel like, you mentioned the mother. That would have been such a great parallel to set by the end of the film of stating its thesis and stating, you know, like how Theo James's character then almost inherits his mother and then builds a beautiful relationship with his son. But I'm never really sold on that. I'm curious what you guys think.
I agree, because for me the thesis for the main point was that everybody dies and that it's not something that you can necessarily control, and things truly do just happen sometimes, and it's not anyone's fault. And so then like I agree. I wish he would have like finally connected with his son of saying that, of like, listen, I'm terrified of losing you, but at the same time, like I can't have that fear because it's not in my control if anything happens to you. But that's why I'm scared of having a relationship with you. But we never got that. We never got him fully opening up to his son and saying like, this is why I've lied to you my whole life and never told you I have a brother. And like, this is what's going on.
Yeah. I think like to kind of build off of that too, like he could have even done the opposite, where he could have been like the sacrificial end of like how his mom died too to the monkey, and then the son could even go through the same trauma, if that's the kind of enduring thing and through line that it's always going to keep happening, that maybe the good guy loses in this instance. And then it could have even been a funny bookend where the bad brother has to raise the kid now or something. Like it could have been a wilder twist. But I feel like because it should have tied back to the mother at some point, because that was the best part, like meat and potatoes of the film, I think. So
also the whole reason for the like crazy brother, the whole motive for him is that he like wants to avenge his mother dying essentially.
Let's move on. I want to get your guys' take on what's your guys' favorite kill.
Oh, that's a good one.
Favorite kill.
I want to say, just because it was the most, like, I just wasn't expecting how she died, was honestly probably like the mom. I didn't expect her to just have like all this blood coming out of her. But then also like the bringing it back of like when he's constantly like when he's dreaming of her and then she's like screaming while the blood's coming out of her face, Like just visually, those were the most like impactful for me.
Yeah.
What
I
about you?
feel like the sleeping bag was something I was not expecting, man. That was crazy. I did not expect them to open that up, and it was just a
Mush.
sack of sloppy Joe. Yeah, it was
Ew.
crazy. Yeah,
Ew.
and the I really liked the opening one that kind of set the tone with the scuba diver gear and the
wow,
harpoon
yeah.
just went through the guy.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
cause Yeah, that
Yeah.
was wild. How
What
about
about
you?
you, Vinny?
I think my favorite, the one that comes to mind, is the real estate agent when she opens the door.
Oh, the shotgun. Yeah.
And just blown up. And then also, not my favorite, but I have to mention it. The random woman in the swimming pool.
Yeah,
Oh,
random,
yeah,
but
yeah.
also explodes, not just
Like-
electrocuted,
Mhm.
full on pops. Like
Yep.
what?
The leg goes flying across his
Yeah.
a leg.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
And then
was
he's like,
crazy.
oh, we gotta leave. Something happened outside. Something happened. It's
Yeah, like
like-
he doesn't call. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't
Yeah.
call the police.
That
He
was
just
a funny
goes.
moment,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
That's was like the stuff I really loved
Yes.
from the film.
yeah.
Like when he got so zany, and then the characters weren't like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like a Marvel thing where it was like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was like, it was just kind of like, all right, I'll accept it. Let's
He's
get
like,
out
oh,
of
this
it."
has happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when the bees are like coming in, and
Oh,
I knew
yeah.
something was gonna happen with them. Obviously, I didn't expect them to just like all go into this man's mouth, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Theo James's character is just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that
so
was good.
underwhelmed.
I think
Yeah.
if it did more of that and it kind of shifted to that tone of like the boys, where like the boys they go through some like really gruesome sequences and that kind of thing, but they're all like looking at each other like, what the fuck was that, man? They're like, holy shit, I didn't think that was gonna happen today. Like there's the shock value where when you make the characters like equally as shocked in that situation and they do something illogical after that, then that's funny, like naturally.
Mhm.
So I think if they had more of that, and you know, to cover their bases, I think the comedy would have been a little stronger than the dialogue comedy. But
yeah, true. There was, I will say, I think the film gets away with a lot of quote unquote cheesy lines or dialogue, and I think a lot of it fits within the genre, and I pass it off. There was a couple lines of dialogue. There was one though where I'm like, oh my god, you could have done that in any other creative way.
yeah.
But they have to establish that woman is the babysitter. So the mom goes,
Oh.
bye-bye, babysitter, da-da-da. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I was like, no. Anyhow, that
Yeah.
irked me. That was just a little thing that kind of annoyed me.
I didn't even catch that, but that would have bothered me too.
Yeah. I forget the babysitter's name, but literally she was just like straight up, bye-bye,
Bye,
babysitter
babysitter.
or you know.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just felt like that. I think that was another thing for
Babysitter
me.
Annie is the name.
Babysitter Annie. That was like a little bit. Some of the stuff just did not feel fully cooked. You know, like there were other points where I was like, oh, that was really creative, or that was really risky to try, and that was cool that they did that. But then other parts, I was like, why didn't they take any time on the dialogue here? Why didn't they take time to just connect the dots a little bit better? And I think it's based off a Stephen King short story, but like,
Yeah.
so they probably took a lot of liberties on where it would go, but you know, just connect your dots a little more cohesively. And like horror and this type of horror doesn't have to make perfect sense to the viewer, but just make sure that the logic within your world is a little tighter. So I think that's where I felt dissatisfied, along with some of the dialogue that it felt out of place from the rest, because at other moments it felt smart and it felt crafted like for intent, and other points it was just like, who did they get approval from for those lines or that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it didn't fit in every part, but yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Now, this is really just kind of throwing questions to the whatever the phrase goes. You get what I'm saying. But I'm curious how long the film, pre-production wise, how long they were writing it, because you know, Longlegs wasn't that long ago. This must have had a really quick turnaround. Not that there are plenty of great films that have been done probably even in a shorter period of time. But I'm just curious if maybe that your feelings on the film and that might have been the reason why. Maybe I'm not sure, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd be curious too. I mean, he could have been working on it for a little while, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to say. I don't know about you guys.
No, I think.
Yeah.
What if we do final thoughts and scores?
Yeah, let's do it.
Zach, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I think the film was entertaining. If you're into the dark comedy genre, this is worth the watch. It's not going to be a major breakthrough in the horror genre, but it still gives you some entertaining moments. And if you like series or movies like with gore and dark humor, it definitely fits the bill. For me, I'm just going to give it a 6 out of 10 for like reasons that we were talking about. Just it could have been a little tighter or a little bit more cohesive, and I would have definitely bumped it to like an 8 or a 9. But yeah, and then personally, I think Longlegs is his better recent film, just because it felt very succinct. This one just felt like it went between genres a little bit too much and came out a little flat at the end. But yeah, Vinny, what do you think?
I'm gonna give The Monkey. Originally, I was actually gonna give it an 8, but thinking more on that flaw that I had, really just the kind of the relationship part. You know, the meat and potatoes was supposed to be that son and father, and it kind of fell flat. So I'm just gonna bump it down slightly. I'm giving this a 7.5.
Okay.
I had a very fun time, and you know, I don't think every horror film is going to be, you know, the next Hereditary or the next Shining or whatever, but for its influence, it's taken a lot from B movies. It wears it on its sleeve, and I love to see that. Especially in modern films. I feel like studios they don't want to make horror like this as often because I mean, just to be brutally honest, I think my generation and just modern audiences aren't really familiar with like the horror comedies and the B movies of the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, 7.5.
Okay. My final thoughts, I stick by kind of what I said. I just had higher expectations for Oz's follow-up film. I still can like appreciate it just because I really was a fan of like Final Destination. And again, if you are a fan of Final Destination, you're definitely gonna appreciate this one. I just wish that they had done full circle a little bit more. So with that being said, I am rating it a 6.
All right, cool. That has been our review of The Monkey at the Cinema Wave podcast. If you liked our content, then we have so much more. We're doing so many reviews on everything. You guys just recorded White Lotus, correct?
Yeah.
Check out our White Lotus reviews weekly. We're doing Severance. Check out those. We're doing Solo Leveling, so much on the animation field. Spider-Man. What else are we doing? Invincible. Everything. It's down below. Subscribe. Also, tell us your thoughts on The Monkey in the comment section down below. We want to hear them. We will discuss with you guys. And we also have social medias in the description and probably right below me in the video right now. If you want to check out our content on Instagram and the other social medias, very similar to this. That has been Vinny Albano.
I'm Liz Seiko.
I'm Zach Miller.
And thank you. Bye-bye.
This is The Culture.